North Korea held a second day of celebrations Monday to commemorate the 70th anniversary of its founding as a nation. Thousands of North Koreans marched in a torch parade following Sunday's mass games and military parade. That military parade was notable for what it did not include: intercontinental ballistic missiles. Here's Ben Tracy with more.
This is the North Korea the world rarely sees. Tens of thousands of its people putting on a spectacular show about unity and peace. This is the more familiar North Korea show. But Kim Jong-un, who watched the military parade from above, also ordered a plot twist. He significantly shrunk the weaponry portion of the parade and did not show off North Korea's most provocative possessions, its intercontinental ballistic missiles. Perhaps mindful of the fragile détente between him and President Trump.
Kim Jong-un has used this 70th anniversary year to make a major shift inside North Korea. Yes, the military and the missiles are still important, but what he's increasingly talking about is building North Korea's economy.
The majority of the parade was about highlighting economic advancements, despite crippling international sanctions. Our government-guided tours have been pushing the same message: trips to a silk factory and a North Korean cosmetics operation that exports its products to China and Russia. Yet the one thing that hasn't changed here is the cult of personality around North Korea's leaders, past and present.
Kim Jong-un visited this teaching college back in January, and there is now an entire room here devoted to his visit. They've even put this chair in a glass case here because that's the chair he sat in.
At the events this weekend, Kim waved to the adoring crowds, people he's not promising just better weapons, but also a better way of life.
The president of South Korea comes here to Pyongyang next week for a summit with Kim Jong-un. He'll be trying to get those nuclear talks with the U.S. back on track. Elaine?
Ben Tracy, thank you. For more on this, I want to bring in McClatchy Foreign Affairs columnist Markos Kounalakis. He is also a visiting fellow at the Hoover Institution. He joins me now from San Francisco. All right, so Markos, the leaders of North and South Korea will meet in Pyongyang next week. What are they going to talk about?
Well, they've got a lot to talk about. They're really looking forward to actually building that relationship and tightening the relationship between Pyongyang and Seoul. Moon Jae-in has been very aggressive, I think, in many ways to try and build that relationship, tighten that relationship. They just opened an interest section inside of North Korea, the equivalent of what I think we could call an embassy. And of course, Pyongyang and Kim Jong-un is looking for ways of making some money. He's looking for how is he going to get some cash into his cash-starved and consumer goods-starved nation.
Well, so North Korea and South Korea have had talks about economic collaboration. What needs to happen for the two countries to move forward on this front?
It's interesting, Elaine, because what I think is happening is that those two nations are now actually leading the conversation. We in the United States and the Trump administration would like to have more of a say about the pace of that development and the pace of the process, in particular, as we talk about a peace accord being reached between North and South. But it seems that there really is a lot of impetus being promoted by the South to try and get this done. So for that to happen, for the economic relationships to actually improve, we have to see some movement on the military front, and in particular, from the United States perspective, on denuclearization.
So on that point, does the absence of ballistic missiles in North Korea's military parade on Sunday appear to be a true sign of halting nuclear activity? Is there any way to tell?
Not really. I mean, it really is more of a goodwill gesture, the same way that, in fact, the returning of the U.S. military, of some of the remains of U.S. soldiers, has been a goodwill gesture. The blowing up of the tunnels at the nuclear test site in North Korea is a goodwill gesture. But they still have all the nukes that they had before. There doesn't appear to be any reason for us to believe that there are fewer missiles. I'm sure we can check that. No, I mean, it really is just sort of small steps moving towards what I think the President Trump would like, and what Chairman Kim Jong-un would like, which is some kind of a symbolic agreement, whether it's, again, a peace accord. Clearly, there's movement now today as a result of this letter, perhaps, towards another summit meeting between the two leaders. So these are all baby steps and diplomatic moves.
I want to ask you more about that letter in a moment. But first, what would specifically convince the U.S. that North Korea is, in fact, dismantling its nuclear program?
I think you have to have verifiable, permanent movement with a group that is able to go in and test, to actually do verification that is independent of just North Korea or someone who is allied with North Korea saying that, in fact, they have denuclearized. So that would be an organization like the United Nations, the IAEA, for instance.
So let's go back to this letter. White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders announced Monday that President Trump received a letter from North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, and the White House is looking at scheduling another meeting between the two men. What do you make of this?
Well, from the American side, I see President Trump looking for any wins on the international front. And by the way, this has been a positive movement, right? There has been a de-escalation of tensions between the United States and North Korea. So let's not underplay that. But let's also understand that Bob Woodward's book is coming out next week. The president is being assaulted during this election, this midterm election. So any way that he can come up with a win during this very fraught time is something he's going to seek. Kim Jong-un, of course, as we discussed before, is looking for a way to get some money into his country, normalize relations with the rest of the world, and try to show that, in fact, he can be a part of the international community somehow.
All right, Markos Kounalakis. Markos, thank you so much for your perspective. Appreciate it.
Sure, Elaine.